Hey now folks, my name is Nick and today we're taking a look at possibly the smallest game in my collection and definitely one of the lightest, both literally and figuratively, and that is Where Art Thou, Romeo from Crash Games. And this is the game. This is the entire game. It comes in a little plastic baggie. There are 5 cards in the game and then a little 4-page rule book. And this was actually a Kickstarter. It's from Crash Games, like I said, and it was actually the sort of pseudo-sequel side story to their game Council of Verona, which was also on Kickstarter successfully, and which I do own. I'm going to get around to reviewing it. I just need to play it some more. And this was actually funded using the pay what you want model, which has sort of been a sort of hot thing on Kickstarter lately. Tasty Minstrel has used it to great effect, and sure enough, by doing a pay what you want model, I mean, you could have paid, I don't know if you could have pledged $1 or $3 or something like that, or whatever really you wanted. You got a copy of the game, and it made for what it was, it made a lot of money. And it's basically a bluffing deduction game. Then they actually crafted the term nano game instead of micro game to describe this. The whole thing interests me because I like Kickstarter a lot, and the whole concept of it and what this game represents and what it actually does really, really interests me. But is it fun? Let's find out. Where Art Thou, Romeo is a bluffing and deduction game for 3 to 5 players. Each round, someone is going to be Juliet, and Juliet is trying to find Romeo. It's as simple as that. The entirety of the game is basically 5 cards and a little rule book. Now, like I said, the game is for 3 to 5 players. In a 3-player game, there's actually 2 cards marked with a 4 and a 5. You're going to take those out of the deck. In a 4-player game, you'll just take out the 5 card. Hence, there's going to be a number of cards equal to the number of players. Everyone's going to randomly decide who gets to be Juliet first for the first round, and then at the end of each round, Juliet is going to pass around the table so that everyone has a chance to be Juliet. After the last person has played Juliet on that round, essentially the game will have a number of rounds equal to the number of players. You'll count up who has the most points. Whoever has the most points is the winner. So how do you get points? Well, basically you're getting Juliet. Like I said at the beginning, Juliet's job is to find Romeo. Now, everyone is going to get one of the other cards in the deck each round. We'll just assume we're playing a 5-player game for the purposes of this demonstration. Everyone's going to be dealt a card face down and keep it a secret. Now, on each card actually has 2 sides to the card. The orientation of your cards is very important because each player, once they get their card, is going to decide which of the 2 roles on the card they actually are. Once they've made that decision, they're going to keep the role that they've actually chosen close to them. And then when it comes time to reveal, they're going to flip their card like this so that the role that they've chosen is facing whoever Juliet is, signifying that that's the role they chose. So it's very important that you just don't like willy-nilly move your cards around once you've chosen what role you are. Now, how does that actually work? So basically, everyone will choose the role that they want, and then once everyone has made their final decision, Juliet is going to listen to them make arguments as to who is who. So let's say that person is Juliet. So during this period of time, and that the time can vary, basically it's whenever the Juliet says she's done hearing arguments, essentially, everyone can make a case as to, well, whatever, why they might be Romeo or why they're not Romeo, why another player is or isn't Romeo, or how Romeo just might not be present at all. Basically, you're trying to make Juliet think what you want in order to help you get points. So, for example, let's say that you chose Mercutio. Now, one moment. Mercutio's ability says that if Romeo is chosen, he gets 2 points. However, Romeo and Juliet only score 1 point instead of 2. So if someone chose the Mercutio role as their chosen role, their job is basically to convince Juliet to choose another player who actually is Romeo. So if that player has a strong suspicion that another player has chosen Romeo, he's going to try to put Juliet's spotlight on that player because that's going to get him more points. Now, as another example, however, Friar Lawrence gets just a straight up 2 points if Romeo is chosen, so he's obviously going to want to help Juliet find Romeo as much as possible, whereas Prince Aeschylus gets 1 point if Romeo is not chosen. Count Paris gets a point just for being chosen, so he's going to try to make Juliet believe that he's Romeo as much as possible. And here's the Romeo card. If someone actually chooses Romeo, Romeo gets 2 points if chosen, but only 1, of course, if Mercutio is present, like I said before. Juliet herself gets 2 points if Romeo is chosen, but only 1 if Mercutio is present. If Juliet declares that Romeo is not present, and that turns out to be true, she gets 1 point. The couple of the other ones, Tybalt says if Romeo is not chosen, 1 point. The nurse says if Romeo is chosen, 2 points, and so on. And that's basically what all the roles do. So everyone's going to make their case for whatever kind of argument that they're actually trying to make in order to get the most points. Then Juliet says, okay, enough with the arguments. I am going to say that Romeo is either here and choose a player or not here. Then everyone flips to reveal what role they've actually chosen. You'll count out the amount of points you've gained for that round. Juliet flips to the next player, and you do it all over again. Randomly distribute the cards, choose your role, and then try to get points. And that's basically the game. I have a soft spot for this game. I have to confess. And I'm not really sure that I can explain accurately why. I mean, I do have a soft spot for all bluffing and deduction games. Especially where someone's trying to hide their identity from the other players, or at least one other player at the table. And this is just a focused down, distilled version of games like The Resistance, which is one of my favorite games. And much simpler than that. And The Resistance is not a complicated game by any means. But of course, this is a game with 5 cards. It's not like it's very difficult. But the thing about it is, there are people that I've played this with. I've played this several times, and I happen to, just by coincidence, played it with different groups of people each time. The thing about it is, there are going to be people that will not like this game, because the truth is, even though I do like it, there's not a lot of game here, okay? A lot of this is purely just, the cards in the game are purely there as an impetus to get you to lie. I mean, that's essentially what it is. You get your card and you choose your ability, and there's a little bit of strategy there. You have a choice to make, which is a very important thing in any game. You have a decision to make. Are you going to use one side of the card? Are you going to use the other? And how are you going to lie? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? You're some other role and run the risk that someone else is that role and decided to use that side of the card, or just knew that they had that card. I mean, any lie that you tell here, because depending on the number of players in the game, any lie can be found out. It's that easy. But whose lie is Juliet going to believe is the question, or not believe, as is the case. But that's what the game is. It's pure just social interaction. That doesn't always work for me. I hated games like Story War, which are just pure social interaction, but I would say there's no game. I mean, and it's just tedious and boring. This game is so fast and so light that really you never have that chance to get bored or feel that tedium set in. So I think that it works. Do I recommend it for everyone? I don't know. I mean, obviously you can make this, if it's a game with 5 cards, you don't need to buy it necessarily. I'm not, I'm sure that you will be able to, but you could just make it out of anything. And if you want a light game, there's tons of games that probably take, maybe not as short a time, but close to it, and that are meatier games. Okay. I mean, Love Letter is the obvious example of the past couple of years, but nevertheless, I think that it's an interesting experience. I think that for what it was, for what a pay what you want game, very cheap. It's a fun concept, I think is what I'm getting at. And I think that it is the start of what could be a good trend. It could be kind of a scary trend, not just a pay what you want model, but having these really tiny games. But then again, we all know that gaming trends are shifting, and the type of people that are playing games and the type of games that even gamerly gamers want to play is shifting, whether we like it or not. And I think that embracing this kind of game could be a good thing. I think that I would like to see more of this. It's not ever going to be one of my favorite games, but it's a game that I found to be fun and that I do want to try some more. That is saying something based on the amount of games I've been playing lately. So take it for what it's worth. That was Where Art Thou, Romeo from Crash Games. My name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and every day.